signs in there if we're doing just signs or signs and posts, because I got to get
Are
that
we on?
to you guys for the budget
Yeah.
for next year.
Great. Thanks, Jesse.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready.
You are on.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Township Trustees to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Trustee Bullard. Here. Trustee O'Brien. Here. Trustee Greer.
Here.
Okay. Next item is public comment. Hearing none, we will move on.
This is for the.
Approval of minutes. Do we have anything to approve?
No, Mr. Chair, there's none of it here today.
I have not yet finished October 28 or November 8. Nearly there. To get out of here earlier tonight, I might go.
No worries, I still have the back one as well.
First item on the agenda is discuss, consider, and take action regarding damage to Township Hall. I don't believe we need to do anything on that at this point in time.
Waiting for the final paperwork for all the claims information that we have, all the, we've got the siding and the roofing, we need the signs, the trees, the gravestones, all that kind of stuff.
Did you say Jesse was going to have that by today?
Jesse's completed it all, I know he's given it to Jeff.
So you have everything? Jeff is saying he doesn't have everything.
I don't believe I have it yet.
I thought he told me that, at least my understanding.
Well, I will get with Jesse and I will find out.
Okay. I'll see you tomorrow, we'll talk about it. I'm sure.
Did he say that?
I believe that's moving forward. Next item is, fire department, records management system.
At this time, we're gonna probably table that. I sent you quite a lengthy explanation on, on my report, prior to. There's a situation between the state and the U.S. Fire Administration, that we're just gonna kind of sit back and watch what happens before we make a jump to something else. The biggest challenge I have right now is our current software is, my understanding, is set to what they call sunset or go away on in late 25, early 26. So I'm trying to confirm with the vendor we have now. The software was purchased by a new vendor. They're eliminating it. I'm trying to figure out exactly when that will happen so I can plan a little bit better. But until we get this issue with the state and the U.S. Fire Administration resolved, we're not jumping ship just yet. So that's going to kind of be on the back burner for a while. We can probably actually remove from the agenda until I get some answers and I can bring it back and forth.
Any comments or questions? Township Hall, Hayloft system.
So I did talk with Steve Lewis, as I was asked to do, and he recommended not spending all that money for a Hayloft system, because he said pretty much regardless, you're going to have to buy that equipment again anyway. And the cost of the equipment, even if you don't, is much less than the Hayloft system. He said that it's backed up, and so I asked him, would you spend the money? And he said no. Now, if they have a much cheaper than what came in quote, we could consider it, or I would consider it. But if it's coming in about the same.
I don't have any new quotes for you, but I can pretty much tell you that'll probably be the quote that we'll get. None of the fire protection companies are going to install it for much less than that. So it's going to be a significant cost.
So that's my recommendation. But I do, of course, want our Halon system that we have. And if it is activated, we're going to have to replace it, because that's not.
At that point, yes.
Yeah.
Because it's for records that are irretrievable, whereas this is for records that are electronic, that are stored, backed up somewhere else.
Got it.
So,
So did you also chat with Steve Lewis about getting in contact with Eric from ITMA Rail?
So he was going to contact you,
Okay,
but I thought he would have already done that. by now.
well, I'll send him a note because I have the contact information and prepped the gentleman on connecting him and them. So I'll just initiate that.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
You might want to chat a little bit about other things as well. And I don't know if you noticed, I'm going off topic here, but Harrison Huebner is installing right now. They were down towards the townhouse. I didn't know if you saw that conduit that was going in.
I didn't see that, but I figured it would be soon.
That started today.
Or today? Okay. So this is a good
Digging up
time.
our lawn yet again.
Yeah.
After it's just fixed, they're digging it back.
Just got
They're just boring holes in it. No replacement. They've actually done it.
Yeah.
Most of those companies do.
That's all I have on the Halo.
Keep it on the agenda for next time.
No, I don't think
Let's
so.
remove it at this time because we're not doing anything.
I think the advisories don't.
So it goes away. Cell phone for fire chief.
I haven't had time to get doing anything, but I'm,
Keep it on for next time.
yeah. I've got, Jeff gave me contact information for them and that's as far.
Well, but if you have everything that you need, we don't have to do anything as a
No.
board. You can remove that then.
No, I have everything I need, I believe, so.
Let's remove it from the agenda then.
There's no reason to keep it on anymore. You guys have approved the plan and, I mean, when I get a phone, I get a phone, so when I get a few extra minutes, I'm not doing things that are a little more high priority.
Yeah, all good.
What are issues at the foundation structural?
So, Mr. Stucco, he emailed this afternoon, he will have the resolution for that RFP here for the next meeting. Part of that is, my error.
Just for the next meeting?
Yeah, so it'll be for the next
Keep
meeting.
it on.
Yep.
SOP, SOG update?
I have nothing, Mr. O'Brien and I have a meeting scheduled for the 15th, so I don't have any update for that right now. I've not heard anything back from either Mr. Riepenhoff or, Mr. Stucco on those though. So he did say he would have, Stucco said he would have something back for me on the 20th.
So I did.
Not heard from Mr. Riepenhoff at all now.
Yeah.
So I spoke with Mr. Riepenhoff, and he is working on it. He has mixed views of Lexipol. He said that for the things basically that's going to Mr. Stucco, they're very good on that type of things. He said for personnel type issues, they're not, and the reason they're not is they're geared towards civil service townships. So they follow civil service township law in constructing those and not non-civil service townships. So
We are not a civil service.
So he said, and I don't know which one, he would recommend us not adopt the one, and the other one, he has to major rewrite. It's 6 pages long, and he said, it would probably come down to like 2 pages.
This has been an interesting conundrum because I think that there is even I thought this initially, there's a difference between townships, home rule townships, civil service townships, and they're under different statutes, so it can be challenging because when you think of townships, you think civil service, but actually it's not. That has a specific definition, the population of over 10,000, or a few other items that we don't qualify for.
So, and I used to get civil service and, well, I didn't get it mixed up. I lumped in civil service with home rule because
They're
oftentimes,
closer than,
and oftentimes they are the same,
yeah.
but they don't have to be the same.
yeah,
And so the statute gets messy, and
Yeah.
Lexipol just goes to civil
Civil service
service
township.
because there are certain laws that they must follow. But he said, if you do that, you're getting yourself into a difficult situation. So I think it's going to be worth him doing it. Because I said, the reason we're paying is to keep us out of trouble. But the problem is it's going to be a lot more expensive than what I thought it would be. But we need SOGs that can be followed.
I agree.
Correct.
So I think we're going the right route. It's just not the easy route and the cheap route that I thought it would be. I thought he would just.
Top it off, yeah. I also have not heard back from him on the final timestamp contract of the,
And I emailed, I didn't talk to him about that. I just didn't.
I emailed him about that. Could you add that to your list of what to speak with him about, since that kind of lumps in the fire?
Mhm.
I never heard back from him, and I've now sent him 2 emails in regards to that.
He must be small.
Yes, no, I get it.
Because normally, he takes my phone calls and
But if he hasn't responded to the chief.
Yeah, I have not.
well,
I haven't heard
well,
from
but
him.
I told him to respond to me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, 'cause you're engaged with it.
Okay.
But there was another issue that had to do with insurance, and he's
Mhm.
working with Jeff on that. Because, as you recall, collective bargaining, required us to pay additional monies to, fire staff, but it also required the fire staff to pay more towards insurance. And that insurance is a little complicated because it gets into perhaps dealing with OPNF and taxes. So we're trying to do what's right.
Mhm.
So it's not in my ball court, but I just want to make the board aware that it's not an easy
Mhm.
thing.
We'll keep it on the list and status it again next week. OFCA Consulting Services.
So I got a quote from a second organization. I was going to bring that to the board this evening for approval. However, Mr. O'Brien wants to meet with their representative, and we're doing that on Thursday. So I will have that for approval next meeting.
One or the other? Are you gonna have, because there were 2, right?
There will be 2. It'll be 1.
Okay.
As long as Mr. O'Brien is satisfied with what they have to say on Thursday, it was half the cost
Okay.
for the same service. So,
And do you know this company as well? Like,
I do.
how do you know the first company?
yes.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with them. The gentleman that we'll be meeting with on Thursday was in my OFE class. He's a retired fire chief from Goshen Township down in Cincinnati. All the members of that, with the exception, I think, 1 work for townships. So it's a little more township centric maybe than what the Ohio fire chiefs would be, plus it's, again, half the cost. So
Yeah. That's great.
I thought half the cost was a good thing. So,
Well, yeah, but I don't want half the,
I don't believe we'll get half the quality. Actually, I think, and I don't want to speak ill of the Ohio fire chiefs because they do great work.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get a more,
better value.
a better value, but a more centered product and less cookie cutter type of thing.
Great. That's great.
Okay, road commercial. Moving on to the road department. Or is there anything else in fire department?
I have nothing else, man. It was a pretty simple meeting
I
tonight.
don't have anything on that. Is there anything else?
I had contacted, Tony, and I believe that his plan was to reach out to, the representative that had contacted him for that commercial area. But I haven't heard anything from him since.
Okay.
I thought about this, and it's too late for this one, but I thought, how do we deal with this in the future? Because we've had another issue where we wanted to do deed restriction and it didn't work then either.
Mm.
And I thought, you know what? When they come in, they could create a new district that is commercial that excluded everything except, so it could be this minus everything except doctor's offices and stuff. And it would be a whole new section in the book.
Mm.
And because
Because it's
we're
an
doing an
amendment.
amendment anyway,
Yeah.
so that's something to think when
Interesting.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
But I thought, hey, that's a solution, and they would have been happy with it.
So like, it would be like a brand new article essentially, and it would only have those 3 in it. And then let's say another little pocket area in the township wants to do something similar where they could invoke that article. as well.
Exactly. And
Would we
I,
have to do anything? Because if they have to bring it under some kind of article for the application process, would we have to?
well, they've done theirs, but then we amended it.
Yeah.
And so that's a solution that I think can and would work. But before we get into that situation, we want to get an attorney that knows what's going on so that.
But theoretically, if they brought it in under Article, whatever it was, Article 14, we could amend it to create a new article and put it under that. Yeah, that's definitely an option.
It would have been a lot simpler than what we're going through.
Well, I still like, if we said that it was conditional on the deed restriction, and the deed restriction we can't enter into ultimately.
But the fact is, my understanding is we truly actually can't do conditional. We either approve it or we don't approve it. They agreed to the condition, but
But the only reason why we approved it was because the conditions were set. And we said, if this doesn't happen, then it's not approved.
yeah, but I don't know that that's
That was standard.
enforceable.
Well, we do that all the time, though.
But, no,
Yeah, all those, all those
but
adjustments
it's-
to the text.
but they're adjustments they've agreed to and are implemented at that time. So, because my understanding is they could go back and do what we said, do the deed restriction, but it wouldn't be enforceable on our part. So they would have created something that meets the condition that's unusable to us.
Correct.
So, I
We
mean,
won't belabor it because we don't have an update, but I think we do need to, I think there's gonna be these things that, hey, we'll restrict ourselves to only 10 of these commercial items, or 5 of these commercial items, and we don't have a solution for that. So that's a good thing to consider in the future.
Okay, requisitions, I have none. Flashing crosswalks, speed limit signs and subdivisions. We have a meeting scheduled for, 2 weeks from today.
It's when?
2 weeks from today. It's,
Sorry about that.
at the Willimantic office complex down on near Orange Road.
Right.
So it's a follow-up to our earlier meeting. REA for Trail Connector on Cheshire Road. I believe we did that, didn't we?
Yes, I think you can remove that.
So we can take that one off the list. And REA for Dale Ford drainage estimate. I think they did the same thing.
Yes.
I think that can be removed. And no real discussion for options for Tanktown REA. We've got the motion written and we've passed it along to the prosecutor for review. And then once we get that back, we can move forward. So right now it's in the prosecutor's office. Any questions for the department?
No.
There was a letter about signs and that sort of thing. I know that Jesse had responded and it just takes time to get back on the street signs. There's getting to be more concerns about what new sign. I just got a 10-year plan, which I'm really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Cemetery, I have no update on either of those. We do have a funeral plan for tomorrow in the Muslim section of the cemetery. And that's, we're putting a lot of our into that right now.
Mhm.
Fiscal officer items, payment list for checks dated November 13th.
I move that we approve the positive pay trial report dated 11/12/2024 at 3:18 p.m. for warrants 32539 through 32563 for an amount of $52,309.55.
Second.
Discussion, call the roll please.
Rail,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Okay, we need to sign this or?
No,
That's okay, you got it. Legislation to establish permanent improvement fund in UAN 4300 range.
I have a resolution, form from Mr. Stocko. I have not heard back yet from the local government services people, so I will follow up with them
Okay,
on getting the account and fund designation.
keep it on the list.
Yes,
Next one is the Delco water bill.
the bill was less this time. It wasn't as low as it usually is. I think it was $47. So evidently we somehow, somewhat fixed the toilet. I think the toilets were what caused the problem. I did come in yesterday morning and the women's toilet was running, was flushing in here, so I turned the water off. It looks like Jess has gotten that out of order sign up. Instead of being $800, it was like $47, when it's normally between 10 and 30. So
Maybe
evidently,
been early on in the build cycle as far as the hot water usage.
so it's better, but that evidently was the problem. Toilets.
Any other fiscal officer items?
No, sir.
Trustee items. Protocol related to state mandated fraud training.
I believe, Chief, you followed up with those outstanding firefighters, and there's only one now outstanding that you know of?
Two maybe?
Two maybe?
One, so we had one of the four that were in question, I had one resignation letter here already, so we've taken care of that. I talked to another and did get a resignation letter from him. I did not put that on the agenda, so we'll put that on the agenda for next time, but I do have a resignation letter from that one. Another one was in my office this afternoon or this morning. He wishes to stay on the department, so he's gonna come back Friday. We're gonna get everything squared away with him. I will have him complete that fraud training then. And the fourth one, I have not heard from. I called her, I've emailed her, I've not heard anything from her, so she's not returning my phone call to.
So document that and give that to the fiscal
I'll
officer.
do that. But I need to figure out what she's doing as far as even staying on the roster.
Oh, right, but.
I don't hear
in regards to
anything.
the fraud training, we
Yes.
need to follow up and document and give,
And then the new employees have either completed the fraud training previously or one did it today, so they're done.
and.
And they've sent the certificate?
Yes, Jeff has the certificates.
And,
I do.
Yes.
and if you can also give, a copy of the emails, the two attempts that you made by email to, the fiscal officer, so
Okay.
we can have that documentation. Now, the one that resigned might be after, the September 20, whatever the deadline was. But they work for another, public entity, right?
I don't know the answer to that question.
So if they do, they've completed it for them, they can just forward that
Okay.
copy to us, and that will deal with the fraud training. Otherwise, we've really got to pursue it. Because if they resign afterwards, they're responsible for having taken the fraud training.
Mhm.
So,
So
I mean, I don't know how I can compel somebody to give me a certificate who doesn't work here anymore. I'm not sure I can accomplish that. I'm not sure how I compel somebody to do
Well,
that.
I think the main thing from our perspective is that we show good faith efforts to do it and document that in their personnel file, so.
so if you say do it and they refuse, you just said do it, and it's in the file.
I mean, but there's really no teeth in what you can do as far as pre-course for this training, because they said you are not to not have them work, you're not to do anything,
Right.
you're just to document that you told them.
Right.
So,
So as long as you've got the documentation, we're good.
Jeff, I know you have Hubbard's in his packet today, and I think,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Nicholas will turn his in tomorrow.
Okay.
He wasn't able to get it to me because of the packet. So they have both complete. I've seen physical copies of both.
Okay.
So those that weren't here before still have 30 days from the date they were hired. So, because this is a forever issue. In fact, it should be part of the new employee packet, is it?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Excellent.
Yes, it is.
well, it's not part of the general packet, but you're telling them to do it, right?
It's from the packet that Jeff gave me. There's fraud information in there.
Oh, there is?
There's two different things. There is a packet that you have to give to new employees, it's 10 pages, something like that, that pretty much says everything the video says. And they have to sign that you gave it to them. They have to sign a receipt for it. That's different from the new thing that we got this summer that says they've got to watch a video and get a certificate.
Mhm.
But that's also prompting me to get the certificate from them. So
So
It's helpful.
on that document that they signed, is there any information or was it doesn't predate the video training that they recently implemented?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think it predates it.
So the document they signed is no longer sufficient. They have to watch the video and do the certificate.
Yes, I think that's
So
correct.
do we have anything in the new hire packet with regard to the video and certificate that they have to provide?
Nothing in order.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. So we probably,
So if we had a sheet that had the email, not email, the website address that they
Basically
have to go for
yeah.
the training, and then sign that they received that and know that they have to do it.
Which I'm making them do it before they give me their packet of information, and that way I can turn everything into Jeff when I turn all their paperwork in.
That's excellent, but we also have to deal with all the rest of the township too.
yeah, I can actually see if maybe Jenna can create just a one-page document based on my email.
Yeah.
And
I like it.
just basically use that and say, within 30 days, you have to complete this. So we have that.
While we're at that updating of the new hire packet, can we update the direct deposit form as well? Because it's like from some bank and it's got some weird information on it.
Yeah,
Just look at it, Jeff.
It's First Commonwealth's form.
Yeah. Is that who we use?
Yes, yes, it's the form that our bank uses.
Never mind. I just assumed since the bank was somewhere in Pennsylvania, it was just a form.
Yeah, they bought out Delaware County Bank.
Do we status this at the next meeting, or are we done with it?
I hope we're done with it.
I have a follow-up for it, so we need to keep it on for the next
Fine.
meeting.
Okay, no problem. Natural disaster mutual aid for townships, I don't have anything new. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, public records questions?
I think we can remove that. We
Well-
had received the opinion from the prosecutor's office on that.
Okay, but on the public records request that we had, does the fiscal officer have the actual request, a copy of that? Because for him to fill that, the way I interpret what I've read is not really that much. It's just basically a number. They don't ask for emails. They don't ask for this, that. They ask for information. And that's, as a fiscal officer, I don't know how he feels that. Maybe the prosecutor needs to read it and see what is it that we actually have to fill out. Because, it goes from 1960 or whatever, 1990, I don't know what, but it's a huge span of time. And he can't go through everything. They need to ask for what they really want. But I think really what they want is a number, and I don't want to make them go fishing because they'll start making these ridiculous requests if you don't give them what they want. If they just want to know, we got one CDBG grant and this is how much it was, an email about that might be good, and just give that to them, and that answers their question. But if they're wanting who knows what, then they have to ask for who knows what.
Well, so Jeff, did you see Mr. Lafayette's response?
No, not yet.
So that was sent early last week. And so there's two things that you were following up on with this. One was confirmation from the sidewalks from, what was it, Hyatt Meadows. You were gonna work with Jesse on getting any information with regard to that one grant.
We've got that.
Okay, and then that gets sent on to Mr. Curry. Jeff does have the exact wording of the request that we received, but he does not have the physical paper.
Okay.
And I can give him the physical paper, but I sent the exact verbiage of the request.
Well, I think it might be good to have a copy of it.
Sure,
Jeff,
and I
not
can
so
do
much
that.
Jesse.
But then two, the second item was Mr. Lafayette indicated that in response to their counsel's follow-up with us, that we can simply say that this, the case is pending litigation at this time, and just give them the one grant number and be done, right? Isn't that what he basically said? Do you guys remember this
I do not.
last week?
Well, I remember the send them our information kind of thing, wasn't it? It was that to the other one.
The appropriate response would be to indicate that this matter is currently in litigation, and as such, any communications would have to go through legal counsel and then provide them with my contact information. So can you get that squared away this week, Jeff? This was from
I don't know.
November
I'll do my
6th.
best.
November 6th at 5:48 PM. It should just be one quick email saying, because you have the information on the one grant.
Okay.
Here's the grant information. As this matter is undergoing litigation at this time, here's the contact information for our counsel to, for any additional communication or requests, period. And then you can be done with that at least. And then give him Mr. Lafayette's information.
So was the one that asked this in the second letter, the same one that asked for the CDBG?
I didn't put that together initially, but yes,
Okay,
they're both the same.
okay. So that's why I got a little bit confused about.
Yes, same, because, and so we aren't actually going through the prosecutor on that because
Got
so I didn't put those two together initially either. So I had sent Tony a note and then now they're together.
Do we need to discuss this at the next meeting?
Yeah, I think the only thing for the next meeting is Jeff will follow up, close that item out, and we'll see what they come back with.
Okay,
And then they can just communicate directly with Mr. Lafayette moving forward.
no problem. Next one, Delaware County 2024 Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan. I have no update on that. TIF Albers.
I think we probably will want to go into executive session for that, for economic development. Did you gentlemen read the email from them regarding, different options for both parties? So, we can hold off and go into executive session at the start of next meeting, or we can go into executive session now.
I would like to do it tonight and we can keep it short tonight. But I'd like to talk just very briefly.
Okay. Okay, let's do that again.
Attorney set up for a phone call or something?
Well, I can talk about the other one first because, so with regards to the Oak Parks, I mentioned that we had a TIF in place, and if they wanted to bring forward a proposal, they could either just send it to township, or if they wanted to pay for council to work with them, they could. And then I believe that they contacted Mr. McCarter, and I followed up with Mr. McCarter and said, you would be representing us, and they would be paying that. So I'm not exactly sure where that's at right now, but everyone's on the same page with what to expect for that. They'll either send a proposal or they'll work with Mr. McCarter, who's representing us, and pay for that. And that makes sense because we don't want to pay double for setting up something there. Yeah. And then whether that makes sense to them or not is a different thing.
Well, it's up to them as to what they want.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other item is a little bit more complex because it did sound like the new proposal, they can't really ascertain which one's going to necessarily be better, but they're pretty comparable. The 30-year,
So I want to do that in executive session.
yeah, or the 75, 10-year. And then also there's other options that they wanted us to consider that I think are important for us to do in executive session.
Well, I think in executive session, we need legal representation on this one.
Not for economic development.
Okay.
For imminent pending litigation, we do.
Okay, so you want to do that later in the meeting?
Let's do it, yeah, later.
Okay. Keep it there. IT security assessment?
Yeah, I will set up, I will connect Steve Lewis, since the fiber is going in, I'll set up Steve Lewis with Eric from IT Made Real and Todd Church for the cameras and the system that he was proposing. And from there, I think we'll be set. Also, Eric did address the software, the outdated software that was at risk. So I think we're pretty good in that regard now.
And since we're mentioning IT, I noticed that they've got the boring machine down at
Mhm.
the the fire office, which is just a plus.
Very much
Okay.
so. It'd be great.
Sounds like we need to keep this on for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, request for permission to open cut. They've never come back. There's no reason to follow that up. We'll just keep it on here as an open item until they come back. I'm assuming they're gonna come back at some point. All right,
Well, Mr. Chair, they did say, I think somebody said it was on until March or April now.
Mhm.
So we could get rid of it from the agenda if we wanted to. And then I can follow up.
let's keep it here, and at the next meeting, I will attempt to make a contact with them and figure out what they're doing.
Okay, that sounds great.
Just to make sure that happens.
Great, so you'll follow up with that one.
RFP for joint waste and recycling contract, I did not receive anything, nor did I receive any phone calls from Rocky. I did talk with Berkshire Township, and Berkshire Township is doing their plan is to do a motion of intent to put a contract in place. And so going to do that at tonight's meeting. And their expectation is they'll have a contract with all the changes in it for their next meeting. We'll probably have our next meeting same time.
So when we did our intent, was it date specific for tonight or just intending to do it? I don't recall.
I believe we said we were intending to do something for tonight.
So,
What we can do is,
so I moved to table it until our next meeting.
okay, I will second that.
Could you, as a friendly amendment, specify next regularly scheduled trustee meeting?
Yes, the next regularly scheduled. Trustee.
Table to next regularly scheduled trustee meeting.
Yes,
I
sir.
move that the RFP for joint waste and recycling, no, scratch that. I move that the joint waste and recycling contract awarding be tabled until our next regularly scheduled trustee meeting.
Second.
All roll, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes. Okay, significant monetary donation, I don't believe we need anything on that. What we need to do though is the UAN for the pickup.
I've already allocated that to there's a 1,000, there's a general fund, gifts and donations fund where I've already allocated it.
Okay, so let's just cross out all those. Doesn't need to be there next time. Next item is zoning department, six-time transfer.
Jet options.
Jet options.
That would be for executive session, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Zoning department, six-time transfer.
That would be for executive session, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Old business, evergreen trees, sign donations, and rules updates. I don't have anything for that update on that from the last meeting. Township administrator updates.
No updates at this time. We will likely have a couple of interviews for, our next regularly scheduled trustee meeting.
Access management plan, I'm expecting a follow meeting here shortly. To try to get, a follow meeting before Thanksgiving with the access management plan. Collective bargaining agreement, post to website.
I mentioned this earlier, Mr. Chair, we have not received the timestamped, final contract for the collective bargaining agreement. Once we receive that, we'll place that on the, website to make it accessible to the public.
Okay. Future meetings, I have a MOPSI meeting on Thursday, and next 2 weeks from today, we have a meeting on the school flashing lights. I believe that's all I've got scheduled at this point.
I have a DCTA legislative committee meeting tomorrow in Genoa, and I think that's all I have in the next 2 weeks. Oh, no, GCRPC will be later.
I have two other meetings coming up. One is DKMM, and that's dealing with the plan for, the updated plan, the 3-year plan that has to be updated and talked about. We had one scheduled earlier this month. We canceled it because there had been no public comment or anything, so there's no reason to have a follow-up meeting. But the next meeting will be in December to move it forward, and at that point, it'll go to the local governments to be adopted and agreed to. And it's just everybody has to look at it.
So you're appointed by the commissioners to that, aren't you?
No. To DKMM? No, that's OT, or Township Association, County Township Association.
Okay.
And nobody has stepped in to take it.
Nobody knows how much work that is. Thank you for doing
Yeah.
that. And it's important because there are certain requirements they can throw on the township if you're not there to protect us.
Yep. And we meet, when the plan is over with, we will meet very infrequently, but when the plan is in the working process.
I've worked on that plan for the commissioners and thank you.
Well, and the thing is, they changed the DCAM's changed a little bit the way they're doing it. They're using a consultant to put the plan together and to put all of that work behind us. It doesn't take quite as much from the DKMM committee as it used to, because it used to be the DKMM folks wrote it.
Yes.
And now we've hired a consultant to help us with the EPA and getting all that sort of stuff straightened out. So that helps a lot. But you still gotta do the public hearings, you still gotta do the meetings to communicate. So that all has to happen.
Is that held in Mount Gilead?
Or,
Is that held in Mount Gilead or is that in Knox or where is it now?
well, Mount Gilead's got a nice meeting room, that's where we're meeting at, Mount Gilead, and that's typically where we meet, is up there.
Because I remember Marion County didn't get along with Knox County, and so there was a fight as to whether it was held in Marion and then or Knox. But those commissioners are gone, so I don't know how that is. And I appreciated both views because normally I'm on one side or the other, but I was in the middle on that one, and I appreciated both views. They were both valid, and I totally got, but they were different.
And the other thing that's happened is, I don't know quite how to say this, but we've kind of matured in the way we look at solid waste, and the requirements from the state has pretty much been consistent over a couple of years. It used to be they kind of changed things a lot, and they're not doing that so much anymore. So the plan updates are not as difficult. The biggest thing